Research methods. Empirical. Scientific method. The scientific method is a systematic, step-by-step procedure psychologists use when conducting research. By following these specific steps, psychologists seek cause and effect relationships, which means that they can be certain, at least have a high level of confidence, that one variable causes an effect on another variable and that the results of the study are caused by the variable being studied and not some other, outside, extraneous, variables. Blank. The steps to the scientific method include describing the topic of study, making predictions, hypotheses, select a method for the study, controlling external variables, collecting data, running the study, analyzing and explaining the findings, and reporting and sharing the findings, usually via publication or lecturing. There are variations, but these are the basic steps in the scientific method. Blank. Steps in scientific method. 1. Formulating research question. 2. Development of hypothesis. 3. Testing the hypothesis. 4. Drawing conclusion. Major research methods. Observation. Precession. Objectivity. Anecdotes. Correlational method is a method to study the relationship between two variables. E.g., is a method to study the relationship between two variables. E.g., stress and health, intelligence and achievement. Correlational coefficient is the number assigned to each variable and varies from plus 1.00 to minus 1.00. Merits. 1. More efficient I.E. more interesting data can be studied in less time. 2. Can be used to study behavior in many real-life situations. 3. Can be extended to include many variables at once. Demerits. 1. Does not study the cause and effect relationship. Experimental method is a research method in which the investigator systematically alters one or more variables to determine if these changes or alterations influence any aspect's behavior. This method may be conducted inside the lab or outside the lab. Is a research method in which Experimental method is a research method in which the investigator systematically alters one or more variables to determine if these changes or alterations influence any aspect's behavior. This method may be conducted inside the lab or outside the lab. If outside, it is called field experiments, and if inside, it is called laboratory experiments. Variable independent variable that psychologists manipulates or alters dependent variable. The variables that are dependent variable that psychologists manipulate. Independent variable that psychologists manipulates or alters. Dependent variable, the variables that are affected by the manipulations. Experimental group to which conditions are provided. Control group to which conditions are not provided. Demand characteristics, group to which conditions are not Demand characteristics, cues or signals that make the subject aware that they are being observed. As a result, the subject may not exhibit natural response. 2 types of errors that are seen in experiments. 1. Bias due to demand characteristics. 2. Bias due to unintentional influence of experimenter, age, sex, voice tone of the experimenter. Blank. Single blind procedure. Here the assistant of the experimenter is not aware of the experimental goals. Double blind procedure. Here both subject and the assistant are not aware of the experimental goals. Observation method. 1. Natural. 2. Participative. Involves 1. Objective observation of behavior of an individual who is under study. I.e. The observer must know what to observe. 2. Must note the behavior patterns observed in scientific manner. 3. Analysis and interpretation of the behavior. I.e. Data collected is analyzed to interpret to behavior patterns. 4. Generalization is made based on the interpreted data. Errors in observation. 1. Halo effect. Observation of past observed experiences has impression on present perception or blank. An effect whereby the perception of positive qualities in one thing or part gives rise to the perception of similar qualities in related things or in the whole. The halo effect is a term used in marketing to explain the bias shown by customers towards certain products because of a favorable experience with other products made by the same manufacturer or maker. Basically, the halo effect is driven by brand equity. The opposite of the halo effect is cannibalization. Investopedia says, the opposite of the halo effect is cannibalization. Investopedia says, for example, if a customer buys product C which is made by company X, not because of the attributes or benefits of the product, but because he or she had a favorable experience with product D, another product made by company X, the purchased item is said to be prospering because of the halo effect. A classic example of the halo effect is the relationship between the Mac notebooks and iPod. When the iPod was released, there was speculation in the marketplace that the sales of Apple's Mac laptops would increase, because of the success of the iPod. The belief was based on the halo effect, as customers who had a great experience with the iPod would buy a Mac computer simply because it is made by Apple Inc. 2. Central tendency error. 2. Central tendency error. When observer is not keen or not accurate and genuine in his role, he can't discriminate variations in behavior. So he keeps everyone in average performance. 3. Stringency error. If he is too strict and he can't give weightage to the quality of performance, he can't assess the behavior up to its expectation. 4. Generosity error. Sometimes observer overlooks the mistakes and wrongdoing, as a result he can't assess correctly. Merits. 1. Scope is wide. 2. Possible to study the behavior of all organism in natural situation. 3. Useful to study child and animal behavior. 4. Used everywhere at home, classroom, field, outside. 5. Does not require any tools or equipment. 6. Can observe individual and group behavior. 7. With little training teachers can use it. Demerits. 1. Lack of natural behavior, as the person might become self-conscious. 2. Observer bias, i.e. his personal interests and prejudice. 3. Children may misalzad. 4. Researcher might study only the overt behavior and not the inner one. 3. Misalzad. D. End of line. D. Period. Mislead. 3. Children may mislead. 4. Researcher might study only the overt behavior and not the inner one. 5. Recording may not be accurate if done after action. Case study method. Studying a single unit, people, or institution in detail. Merits. 1. In-depth study. 2. Intensive investigation. 3. No method can match with its efficiency and usefulness in dealing with the problem. Demerits. 1. Only a mature and trained professional can handle the problem. 2. Lot of effort needed. 3. These studies cannot be generalized. 4. Restricted scope. 5. Demands more time and energy to gather information. Blank. Blank. Applicate.